Welcome back. I'm Jorge Garreton with projections from Chile's presidential election as I take a break from reporting for France 24 in Europe. The projections as exit polls prepared by Radio Bio Bio, they project Sebastián Piñera, the right-wing candidate, billionaire Sebastián Piñera, who owns LAN Airlines, also owns a major Chile's main football club, Colo Colo, although he's a fan of another club, Universidad Católica. He owns a Chilevisión TV network, owns a number, has holdings or interest in other holdings. He garnished, he got today 44% of the votes. Eduardo Frei from the center-left ruling coalition only managed 29% of the votes. Meanwhile, outsider, former Concertación lower house of Congress deputy Marco Enriquez Ominami got 20% of the votes. He was a former member of the Concertación coalition. He wanted to run for the presidency, yet he was not allowed to do so or contest the post by his own party, the Socialist Party. Hence, he left the organization and struck it on his own. He was able to galvanize enough people to obtain 20% of the votes as an outsider candidate. He also managed to get 36,000 signatures of those registered in the electoral rolls to vote for him, or to ensure that he was on the ballot. Well, I do have an email. To ensure that he got on the ballot for this December 13th presidential election. And finally, the Communist Bloc candidate Jorge Garreton only received 6% of the votes. It means that Sebastián Piñera is only 6 points away from becoming Chile's next president on January 17th. January 17th is the next round of voting, the runoff election, or the second round of voting between Sebastián Piñera, who got 44% of the votes, and Senator Eduardo Frei, who got 29% of the votes. Eduardo Frei is a former president of the country. He ruled from 1994 to 2000. He left office with just 27% approval rating, yet he was able to get the Concertación nomination as its principal candidate, as its presidential candidate, that is, for this 2009 presidential elections. Some of the things to take into account, this vote is a punishment to the Concertación coalition, is a punishment, is a slap in the face to their arrogance. They were trying to impose a candidate that was not liked by the public. At the same time, tried to organize, reject the electoral map to their own, the electoral roll of candidates to their own liking. Hence, the electorate rebel and is showing tonight on the polls on this Sunday, December 13th. A few facts to pass along. In Santiago, where is the largest block of votes, so voters, 3.5 million from the total universe of 8.2 million voters. Sebastián Piñera, the right-wing candidate, got 47% of the votes, which is a resounding victory, or is 3 points away from becoming president had he just run on Santiago's mass popularity. Another point to pass along. Nearly 35% of those Chileans ready to vote or eligible to vote are not registered, and those are 35 years of age and younger. Had they registered to vote, perhaps Sebastián Piñera would be the president as of now, and he would be celebrating the right-wing victory for the first time in a vote since 1958, when Jorge Alessandri was elected president in 1958, and when he defeated the socialist candidate Salvador Allende, who later became president in 1970. It was overthrown by a right-wing led coup led by General Augusto Pinochet in 1973, September 11, who ruled for 17 years. A couple of other points to pass along. The error margin of those polls is 0.5%. Hence, in other words, the votes are extremely accurate. The projections are extremely accurate. If Piñera becomes elected as president, it means it's the end of the transition to democracy. It's the end of the Concertación as it is known now. In fact, within the next 5 weeks, the Concertación has to reorganize itself. It has to reorganize its political forces, remove the political leaders who have prevented the parties to renew themselves, to have new faces, to compete fairly in this election. The victory is also a victory, I'm told, by Tomás Moschetti from Radio Bio Bio, Chile's largest radio news network, that is a victory to a dead Pinochet. A victory from the grave, that is, because of most of the entrenched constitutional rank legislation in healthcare, in education, in water laws, in water rights laws, that is, in mining rights, in the way the electoral map is presented, our legacy of Pinochet. In other words, out of the political system the Pinochet regime created, the right wing will have finally managed to capture office after 20 years in the wilderness. Also, the right wing, Chile's senator of the president of the Senate, Jovino Novoa, from the far right UDI Conservative Party, conservative meaning far right, that is attached to the Opus Dei and Legionaries of Christ religious movements and political movements. Jovino Novoa is a former spokesperson of the Pinochet dictatorship. He held a cabinet post during the Pinochet years, and he's the president of the Senate. Also, if Piñera becomes president, he would pass the presidential sash to Piñera on March 11th, 2010. In other words, as Tomás Moschetti was telling me, Pinochet's children will come to office in the democratic system that he created out of his 1980 constitution, that the ruling Concertación was unable or did not have the goals or the capacity to change. In other words, they either were too timid or became entrenched in office. In other words, they were too complacent. Hence, they became attached to power. They became enthralled with it and just decided to ride along with the wave and perhaps slowly move the cards or move the political post towards more democratic openings. And that is the result. Perhaps Sebastián Piñera becoming the next president of Chile after the second round of voting, the runoff election on January 17th, 2010. Jorge Garreton in Santiago.